Welcome to the Career Change Podcast, where you'll discover the frank and practical advice and resources that are already proven to work in the real world when it comes to changing careers or figuring out what business is right for you when you are a smart but likely also stuck, overwhelmed, or overthinking person in your mid-30s, your 40s, your mid-50s. I'm your host, Rikke, Hansen, a career change advisor, entrepreneur, and former corporate HR professional with over 15 years experience of helping thousands of people just like you identify or create careers or businesses that are both meaningful and future-proof. Welcome home. Should you turn your passion into a business? That's a question I've been asked more than ever over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic started a couple of years ago, because it really fast-tracked a development that would already taken place in the world of work, that was already happening, where employees would replace jobs they hated with businesses they love. And some of them doing so by turning their passion into a business. Or so the story goes. So I've had listeners, loads of you, my clients and journalists asking me these questions. And then more recently, last year, a journalist got in touch to interview me for an article for the BBC. And I thought, you know what? I've got to make a podcast episode about this where I can give you some more details, cut through the confusion, the fluff, the hype, and talk about how to start figuring out this answer for yourself and for your circumstances. Now, this is not by any means a new question or subject to me. I've been advising people on whether they should start their own business ever since 2005. So I have a lot to say about this. I advise both on starting your own business and moving into a different career when it comes to career change, because it really depends on what's best for the individual and the kind of career or life they want to create. Personally, I think that running your own business is one of the most exciting things you can do to truly design and shape a really enjoyable and meaningful career and life experience for yourself. However, whether you should base that business on your passion or a passion is important to figure out up front, because not all passions are created equal when it comes to whether you can actually turn it into a business you also enjoy and that's also profitable. And let's make something really clear too, because I know there might be some of you listening. You do not even need a passion in order to start your own business, in order to start a business you'll enjoy. Having a passion is not a requirement for starting your own business or having a business you enjoy. And I do want to point that out right up front in this episode, because in addition to loads of should I turn my passion into a business kind of emails, I also get a lot of emails from my listeners saying, hey, Rikke, I hate my job. I would love to change careers or start my own business instead, but I don't have a passion. There's nothing I'm passionate about. Kind of indicating, therefore, they're still stuck. And as a result, a lot of these wonderful, stuck mid-career professionals and aspiring entrepreneurs, they think that because they don't have a passion, they therefore have to stay stuck in that job or career they hate or no longer enjoy because they don't yet have that passion or big idea. Now, if that's also you listening up, then listen up. No passion? No problem. You can absolutely still go ahead and start a business or change careers. If you want me to do an episode about that whole thing about, well, what if I don't have a passion? Then just let me know. I do not want that to hold you back from choosing to start a business or from changing careers. No problem. No passion. No problem. Okay. So if you are already getting my emails over at thecareerchangepodcast.com, then just reply to any of them and let me know if you want me to do an episode like that. If you don't yet, then just sign up to get my emails over at thecareerchangepodcast.com, and then just reply to any of my emails and let me know if you wanted me to do one of those episodes. Well, what if I don't have a passion? Okay, but keep listening to this episode too. Back to those of you who are asking the question, should you turn your passion into a business? In this episode, what I want to do, I want to give you two highly practical strategy for initially figuring out if you should turn your passion into a business or not, whether it's actually the best option for you or not. Obviously, it's a massive subject, and this is just one podcast episode, so we're just looking at a little bit of it, but you will be able to sit down and start getting concrete right after having listened to this episode. So keep listening. Now, the good news is there has never been a better time to do so, to start your own business or to do your own thing. The world of work has been changing for quite a while, and those changes are speeding up for the better. It's easier than ever to start a business. And if you're over 35, it's even more important for you to be aware of this. And I'm pointing this out because you might have missed this development. If you've been in the same field for a very long time, in the same profession, and most of your friends on that profession too, you might have missed out on the fact that there's never been a better time or more opportunity to create a business you enjoy, you're good at, and make money from than there is right now. Being an employee is no longer your only or even your best option at any age, and this will only become more and more the norm and new reality as time passes, which is interesting because I remember back when I first started advising on career change and entrepreneurship back in 2005, I'd already discovered just how epic it was to work for myself. Before then, I'd been working in HR, human resources for American investment banks in London, and then I jumped to do my own thing. But I was still the odd one out to have jumped from such a great profession and to do my own thing. And when I suggested it to my clients, they were like, I'm not so sure about that. However, as the years have passed, starting your own business and doing your own thing has become the more and more the frequent choice for many former professional employees as part of their career change. And it's also a necessary one. Permanent jobs in many industries are becoming obsolete. There is also the whole thing about outsourcing. There's a thing many times for employees in permanent jobs about the whole crazy toxic politics, long working hours, health issues. So many times actually starting your own business and doing your own thing is your best option. Not always, but in many, many cases. But it also means bypassing some of the traditional gatekeepers you otherwise can run into after 35. Having said that, the thing that you do want to watch out for if you want to do this properly and not throw everything away or risk everything in the process is that you don't just make your business about you, that you don't just make your business about you, and that you treat it like a business from day one. If you want to make money as well. And that is exactly where insisting on turning your passion into a business no matter what can cause a lot of trouble, unless you approach it like a business from day one. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about 2 concrete strategies that you can use right away. Right? They're a great place to start. It's not the only way. There are several more that I use, but this is just a great place to start and that you can use right away some guiding principles. And it's really 2 strategies to help you answer the question, should I turn my passion into a business? And the short answer to that question, should I turn my passion into a business, is that depends. And it very much depends on 2 things, which also at the same time are strategy number 1 and strategy number 2. So strategy number 1 is, should I turn my passion into a business? Strategy number 1 is, well, what's in it for you? If you were to turn that passion into a business, would it give you the kind of day-to-day work life you want? And will it be profitable enough? And strategy number 2, again, an answer to the question, should I turn my passion into a business? Strategy number 2 is, well, what's in it for others? What will be in it for your clients? Your business is not just about you. So what's in it for others? And why should they choose you? This is all about the value proposition. So really, this is important with these 2 strategies. There are 2 sides to this. If you want your passion to be turned into a viable business, not just a glorified hobby, there is you and there's your customers. It's not just about you or your enjoyment or your passion. It's also about the monetization side and about providing real value, solving problems, providing something of true values to others, not just from your perspective, but also from theirs. Okay? So let's go through those 2 strategies one at a time. So number 1, what's in it for you? Will this passion turn into a business give you the kind of day-to-day work life you want? And will it be profitable enough? Now, obviously, this won't happen overnight. It'll happen over time. But one thing that is important for you to think about up front, what is actually going to be your enough? How much money do you want to make? What is going to mean for you to be profitable? And also then for the first part, will it give you the kind of day-to-day work life you want, right? I want you to future pace yourself here. If you were to turn your passion into a business, what would you actually be doing all day in that business as a result? So what kind of job description, so to say, would it result in? What are the activities you would repeatedly be doing? What are the subjects or the subject you'll be working with? What kind of problems are you solving? What kind of experiences or transformations are you facilitating? Who are the people? Who are these clients you're working with? Who are the people you might be hiring or otherwise getting into touch with, into contact with? What are the skills you're using, right? Just imagine, do this as an exercise. Imagine if I were following you around all day, what would I see you doing? If you turn that passion into a business, would that passion actually allow you to create a workday you would truly enjoy and be good at? Or at least an approximation that's close to it. Now, if you're an employee, this might be hard for you to think about because you kind of just do what you're asked to do. So you might not even be used to thinking like that. But this is the great thing with running your own company. If you get this right, that you can have a real chance to have true autonomy, true impact, true purpose, to really design a day-to-day life that you're going to love. However, if you build your business around a particular passion, then that passion will very much dictate a lot when it comes to what you would actually be spending all your day doing. So you've got to be really honest with yourself with your particular passion. If you were to turn that into a full-time job description, so to say, a full-time thing, would you be happy with that? Because it might dictate a very different day-to-day life than, what you just do on a every once in a while basis. Often the idea of turning your passion into a business is very different to the reality of the kind of day-to-day life it turns out to be, especially if you don't do these kinds of exercises up front. Not all passions are created equal when it comes to what kind of day-to-day work life they actually end up resulting in. That's why you really want to think about this up front, whether it's a good candidate for a business, for you. Are you going to enjoy it? Are you going to like it? Right? There are a lot of things you can visualize and look at up front. Just because you like to do some things in the evenings or on your days off, or that something helps you cope with the work that you currently hate or find too stressful, that does not mean that doing it all day, every day is how you want to spend your work life. This is key to think about up front, especially if your passion right now is more of a coping mechanism for a job you don't enjoy versus a real true passion, okay? On the other hand, if your passion is a good candidate, you're likely going to enjoy this exercise because this is also the joy and the genius having a business based around a true enjoyable passion is that you both do something you truly enjoy and is a great candidate for business too. Then you have this incredible opportunity to design work you absolutely love over time and that suits you. They'll get you really enthusiastic. They'll challenge you. They'll help you grow, that you actually want to do and get paid for, right? So what's your ideal workday? And is that actually compatible with your passion? Spend some time really thinking about that, okay? For the second part of strategy 1, that's the whole thing about, will it be profitable? And then I inserted the enough. Now, only you can decide what your enough is. So let's focus on the profitability piece, but you really also need to spend some time thinking, what's enough for me? This is one of the mistakes that a lot of people make. They never really think about what their enough is, right? Do that up front. Set some, do some thinking around, what's actually going to be enough for you? Right? If you don't know what enough is, nothing is ever going to be enough, right? But will it be profitable? That's important, right? You don't just want to have an expensive hobby. You do want it to be profitable, okay? So when it comes to financial, when it comes to money, how much money do you want to make with your business? And will your passion turned into a business enable you to make that amount of money? Do some math. And here, think profit versus just turnover. What do you actually want to have at the end of the day in profit? What do you actually want to make? And here's a key question. There are obviously many sides to this. And when it comes to the finances, of course, you also do want to take advice. But here's an easy way you can start thinking about it. A really great question, especially if you're thinking maybe a solo business initially. How long does it take you and how much does it cost you to create X, that thing or service yourself? Your capacity. How long does it actually take you and how much does it cost you to create X, that service or thing you'll sell? And how much could you sell it for? And how much of a profit could you actually make? And what I want to do here, I want to use a really, really basic example to illustrate this, using a passion that's likely not yours, but that makes it really easy to explain so you get the point, right? So how long does it take you? How long does it take you to make something, and how much does it cost you to create something, that thing you sell, or that service you sell, and how much can you sell it for? What price and what profit can you make? So let's say you're called Bob and your passion is knitting neon-colored mohair sweaters, right? You love knitting sweaters outside of work. You're super passionate about knitting mohair sweaters. It really helps you relax. It makes you feel creative and really help you cope with the draining spreadsheets that's part of the heavy accounting job you're doing. But let's say you decide, okay, I'm going to turn my passion into a business. But let's say it takes you at least 20 hours to knit one sweater, and you can't sell it for more than $100, then you'll be making just $5 an hour just by knitting it, just for knitting it, before we even look at expenses, the amount of money that's spent on sourcing the yarn and the time. So let's say the yarn is, $50. Then once you actually paid for the yarn, you'd only, for those 20 hours you spent knitting it, and that's before, again, spending time sourcing and buying it on. Once you've actually bought the yarn, the cost of making it, you'll be down to $2.50 an hour. And that's not even taking into account the other things you'll be doing, like marketing, sales, shipping, all of that. $2.50 an hour. Doesn't really sound that feasible, does it? You could obviously cut corners and buy cheaper yarn and raise the price, but there are limits to that. Okay? Now, I just will say up front that most of my clients, they choose service-based businesses over products, and they choose services they can charge way more for, okay? I'm just using knitting sweaters as an example to illustrate a profitability point, okay? But think about it. If you're Bob, if you turned your passion for knitting sweaters into a business, you'd literally have to spend every waking minute of your day knitting sweaters. What might that entail in terms of health issues, arthritis, RSI? Is that really the kind of work life you would want, the day-to-day work life? And also, is that the kind of money you want to make or need to make? So this is I'm using this because it's a classic example of turning a passion into a business trap that a lot of people fall into, because they, what I call, directly translate their hobby or their passion into a business without taking the time to really properly think about it and treat it like a business before they do that. So think about finance, think about others, think about whether they're even going to enjoy it. And here's also something you might want to think about that I think is going to be helpful for you. A helpful approach here is to ask yourself a more practical and helpful question. And this is often going to be the case when you're stuck. That's a lot of what I do with my clients, ask them better, more helpful questions. So actually, should I turn my passion into a business? It's not necessarily the best question to ask. It's not the most helpful question to ask. It might be more helpful for you to ask, what would a sustainable, enjoyable, and profitable business version of my passion look like? What would a sustainable, enjoyable, and profitable business version of my passion look like? Or what aspects of my passions could I turn into an enjoyable, profitable business versus, for example, in Bob's case, just knitting sweaters? Or even, would my passion even make a great business? As in, would I actually enjoy it, and would I make money? Or how could I turn my passion into an enjoyable, profitable business? How could I, right? There are many ways of doing something. Get curious. There is never, and this is really important, there is never just one way to make money with your business or with your passion. Knitting sweaters, to give an analogy here, is not the only way to make money if you like knitting, okay? Get curious. Do your research. How are other business owners with a similar passion or similar subject or passion full stop doing it? How are they making money? What business models exist out there? There's so many different business models nowadays. That's part of what I teach my clients, because a lot of people are just not aware of the many ways in which they actually can make money with their passion. So the quality of your questions will to a large extent determine the quality of your career transition and the likelihood or not of its success. What I will say that with my own clients who tend to be professionals, who want to start their own business, I also highly recommend that they look at adding multiple income streams over time. So instead of just selling one product or one specific service, unless that one product or service has a high profit margin or is highly scalable and can be done by others too, then I always encourage them to think of several ways to monetize their passion. Okay, so let's use Bob again because it's such a basic example. So here's an example of what it might look like for Bob to continue with our passionate knitter. So let's say, what if instead of just knitting sweaters, that Bob also started designing mohair sweaters? You know, a knitting pattern has a really great scalability. It has a super high profit margin. Once you've done it, you know, you can sell it again and again. So let's say Bob designs one pattern and just sells it again and again. He finds a great platform where there are tons of customers, pay for a bit of advertising to get in front of them. And let's say all he does is selling 100 patterns at $10 a month, right? That's $1,000 a month before expenses, but the expenses are pretty minimal. And then also look at other multiple income streams over time. You know, maybe he realized he also really loves teaching other people knitting. So he creates, but he want to do it in a really streamlined, scalable manner once he's test-driven it at real people. And he creates an online course and he can sell again and again, hence freeing up time. That's aimed at other bored and creatively unfulfilled finance professionals or professionals who'll stop, where he shows them how to use knitting sweaters to cope with their boring careers, etc., etc. But let's say he does this online course and let's say he charges $97, really super cheap course, and he sells 30 of those a month. That will be almost $3,000, $2,910. So with those just two extra things, he'll be making an extra, $4,000 a month. So upsell to those could then be an in-person or luxury knitting retreat or even luxury, one-on-one, stuff like that. So stuff like that for him would be interesting and financially feasible, even for something like knitting. So that's a really basic example, right? But can you see how this can actually work even for a passion like this? There are ways of making it more profitable if you're creative about it and you treat it like a business like that. And you also consider something like an online scalable component, which is one of the greatest things when you run your own business, to be able to use the scalability of also having an online section to your business. And here's the thing, to get it all off the ground, Bob could even use his current profession, accounting, as a cash cow by contracting part-time, taking a job with less hours or ability to work from home, and then still have money coming in on the side to start this business. Literally use the very profession he hates to make the money enough to finance the business he wants to get off the ground, right? And obviously, before Bob does that, he wants to make sure that actually adding all of these extra income streams is also going to be something he enjoys. That's how he wants to spend his work life, his day-to-day life. Remember, there are two sides to this: enjoyment and money for you. Now, I will say that the majority of my clients, and what I recommend is most of my clients, they tend to start businesses that are more service or advisory based or to do with knowledge or expertise rather than physical product based. There's nothing right or nothing wrong. It depends on the client, but you'll often find that there are a lot more pricing and earning factors when in your control when you do that. And you're a lot less reliant on things like supplier issues and things like that. And you can charge great fees. Nowadays, there are just so many business models, so many different income streams you can add. This is one of the things I love helping my clients understand. But I'm just using the knitting example here, and that's a simple enough one that everyone will get the point. Okay? So remember, if you are going to turn your passion into a business, it's key here that you really understand how to properly monetize your passion. Is it feasible from a business point of view? And you also need to understand how business finance really works. And don't be intimidated. This is really not complicated. When it comes to the money side of business, there are so many books out there and things like that you can just read. Don't let that put you off. That's like quickly understood. Honestly, educate yourself. This is so powerful and so possible. So much better than being vague and feeling like you have no options. One of the best gifts you can give yourself is to really educate yourself around this. Empower yourself, my friend. Nobody has to stay stuck in a job they hate. There are so many other options for you. All right. But remember to do the check for yourself when it comes to this passion you have. If you were to turn that into a business, what's then in it for you? Will it give you the kind of day-to-day work life you want? And will it be profitable enough for you? Okay. So let's transition. Can you see how much clearer you probably already are? Get excited about doing this exercise afterwards when we're doing that check-in with yourself. Let's transition to strategy number 2. Now, whereas your passion until now might have been all about you, if you actually want to turn that passion into a business, then, and this is what strategy 2 is all about, it's important that you ask yourself right up front, well, if I were to turn this passion into a business, what's in it for others, i.e. clients? Your business is not just about you. So what is in it for others and why should they choose you? Think about your value proposition. And I want to give you a classic example here up front to illustrate what I mean by this. Have you ever gone onto a website for a company or a service provider? Especially more of the solopreneur service type one-person business. And their website, the copy that you read, the website copy is all about me, and my journey, and I'm so passionate. The website copy is all about them and their journey and how passionate they are, right? But for you as a potential client reading their website copy, it's not really clear to you who they actually are or what their concrete expertise is or what problems they're actually solving, or even why you should choose them, apart from the fact they're just really passionate and me. You probably want to, do they even know what's going on inside your head? Do they even work with people like you? There is nothing on their website or their marketing material as to what's in it for you, so to say, about what's in it for you as a potential client. I bet you've had that experience, right? With some service providers, right? Now, those business owners, they have not taken the time to translate and make clear why you should choose them, what's in it for you as a client, right? They have not done that translation piece about stepping into your shoes and thinking about their business from your point of view, right? It's key that you do that. It's key that you avoid, that you really don't do this kind of me, and my passion approach if you want to turn your personal passion into a business where you want others to pay you for it. Instead, remember, it's not up to your potential clients to work out if or how you can help them. You need to communicate that clearly, and you want to talk in their language. Now, passion is great, but you also need to think about your value proposition. What is it of value that you offer to others? And you need to think about that from your ideal client's point of view too, right? Here's a great way for you to start thinking about this and how you can do this, right? A really great starting point for this is to ask yourself, what's the problem I am helping my ideal client solving or fix? Or what is the experience or transformation that I'm offering or facilitating for them, right? This is important because the less concrete the nature of your subject or what you're doing is, the more important it is that you do this, right? It's pretty bloody obvious if you're knitting sweaters what you're doing, if you're serving up burgers. We kind of know what that is. But if you have things like an advisory service or a coaching service or health, whatever it is that you have that might not be straight away obvious to people, it's so important that you concretize this for your clients. So think about it this way. Why does your ideal client come to you? Why do they need your help? Why do they need your service? Why do they need your advice? Why do they need the experience or the transformation you facilitate, right? A helpful way to think about this is in terms of what's the problem before and then what happens after they work with you, right? You really need to concretize it. Just as much as you can, as best as you can, right? Do the best you can. But it's really great, easy questions. What's in it for them? And how can you uniquely help them, right? How can you show them that you understand their problem, that you can offer a solution and a result and experience? Not just that you're super passionate and that you love helping people. Do you get what I'm saying? Good. Now, one concrete way, or one way to get more concrete right away with all of this, could be something like picking a niche market to start with and have quite a concrete, specific service offering initially as you're getting started out. Now, a niche doesn't necessarily mean that it's small. It's just really specific. And you really do not want to try to appeal to everyone because you'll end up appealing to no one. This is important, especially as a smaller business, that you maybe pick more of a niche specific market to start with, because it also makes it a lot easier for you to do marketing. It makes it easier for you to market and also for your clients to refer people to you because it's blindingly obvious what you do and who you do it for. Okay, so to give you an example of this, I want to share, I actually had a really great example of this with a client very recently about how you can get really concrete quite early on in your business and really help make it a lot more clear about who you help and how you can help them and why you. So I recently worked with a really lovely Irishman called David, who was a finance professional, super intelligent, really successful, had it all, but his passion was nutrition. That's really what he was really passionate about. And he really wanted to turn this passion into a business, a nutrition business, but he contacted me because he was really unsure about how to do that. How can I actually turn it into a profitable business? He knew that, it was a great career change vehicle to start his own business, but he wanted to make sure he could make a profitable business and stand out. And, just things like, I can help people feel better or get more healthy. Even he could see that was too vague. And he also realized, talking to me, that trying to appeal to everyone was not going to help him either. So one way that I started out with him to try to help him figure this out, one way to go about this is to think about your passion. I said to David, well, how has your passion, has it actually helped you solve a problem of your own, right? So I asked him, how specifically has nutrition helped you? What problem or problems has it helped you solve? Because that's often you'll find that you're your own best client actually before you start. And, and now you're over on the other side because your passion helped you get over to the other side, solving that problem. But probably, a couple of years ago or more recently, you were over on that side as your ideal client. So think about it like this. So David was a classic busy working corporate finance professional who was sitting down all day on his butt in front of a computer, on the phone, on the computer, really long, exhausting working hours. What do you think that does to your health, right? Especially physical health. He would just watch the pounds piling on his colleagues, and he really wanted to avoid that, feeling really tired, really burned out, not healthy at all. And he realized that was actually impacting his career, and it would impact his career, it would impact everything. So he started getting, back then, really, a couple of years ago, really interested in nutrition. And he started doing courses on nutrition, but he found that most of them were way too targeted at fitness, nutrition, and diets. And he wanted something a lot more sustainable and real life applicable for a professional like him. So he wanted to stay fit, energetic, so he can continue to have a successful career and a life. He didn't just want to have a career. He also wanted to have a great body, a great life, a great family life. So that's how he started applying his nutrition knowledge to himself. And then they got pregnant. Him and his wife got a young daughter, and he realized that now he would have even less time and less energy if he didn't start doing something really concrete with his nutrition knowledge. He wanted the career, he wanted to be a good dad, he wanted to be there for his wife, but he still wanted to be healthy and feel good and look good. So he started developing his own method of batch cooking. Every Sunday afternoon for a couple of hours, he would batch cook healthy meals. And he realized he only just needed a few hours to prep and pre-cook and box and refrigerate and freeze healthy meals. And as a result, he would have healthy meals done or ready to quickly, fix up for pretty much the entire week. i.e., he found a really highly practical way to commit to and plan for eating healthy every day. To give him energy, he wanted to both have a great career and be a great dad, be a great, husband, be a great partner, have all of that. As a result, what he realized in his own life, of doing just that small thing initially, and obviously of learning nutrition and applying the principles, he was able to stay fit, healthy, with loads of energy for both his career and his kid. Whereas most other professional, and especially also professionals who are also new dads, they would feel the opposite, right? They would feel totally, low energy, eating crap food, potentially not feeling they can keep up with either their career or their child and their, partner, wife. And also just think about, this would have made, just think about that. I was like, wow, when he told me about this, it's like, when David told me this, I was like, wow, that's phenomenal, Dave. You're telling me that if I spend 2 hours on a Sunday prepping and cooking healthy meals, I'll pretty much have meals for the week sorted to keep my energy, keep this. Even I was impressed, and I'm not a dad, nor someone who has the classic, corporate finance job, right? I was like, okay, David, you really have a super concrete value proposition here, and you're solving a concrete problem. Your ideal client is hardworking, career-minded new dads who still want to have energy and be healthy, both for their career and their young kid, their baby, and of course their wife or their partner, All they need to learn is David's unique prep and cook technique, and of course also to understand some important advice about nutrition. But nutrition that's specifically targeted at a specific client group, like people like David was before, smart, hardworking professionals who also knew dads, right? Turns out, as is so often the case, David was actually his original ideal client, but he solved his problem, so he can therefore now offer it to others. He's over on the other side. So that was pretty much David's first business offering in a nutshell. His ideal clients, new dads who are also busy corporate professionals. Before, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're feeling not terribly healthy, they don't feel attractive, they don't, they feel they're letting their work down, their kids down, their family down. Afterwards, they're taking control of their eating by prepping and planning, ahead. They're aware of nutritional aspects. They know the small things they need to do, a tiny time investment, 2 hours a week in order to feel great all week. Also, just think about it. They'll have energy for both work, for the kids, their partner, and they don't have to sacrifice their health or their partner or their career. They really can decide to still stay healthy, still stay energetic. And also what a great role model for their kids to grow up with. And also, hey, I bet you they would be popular with a partner too. That would be great, having a partner who can cook 2 hours every Sunday and have meals for the, healthy food sorted. I like it. I'll have what David is having, please. Can you see that? Do you see? This is just a brief explanation. I can obviously go into detail if you want in for the episode, but this is a classic example of once you start digging deeper and get more specific around the problem you're solving and your ideal client, do you see how much more attractive and clear a value proposition you can have versus just, I'm super passionate about nutrition, I can help you feel better. It's like, that's so vague. Instead of a really concrete value proposition like David was able to develop, right? And even better, why should these new potential clients choose David? Well, in this particular business, because he very much is someone who is now commercializing, having solved his own problem and building his business around that particular passion. In addition to being trained in nutrition, David is also super relatable because guess what? He used to be just like his clients before he solved his problem. He knows on a deep personal level what it feels like to feel lethargic and tired and unhealthy and have no energy for your career or your kids as a new dad. He knows what's going through your mind and what your issues are about how you feel about your body, your health, your career. More importantly, though, he's over on the other side. He can show you what to do about it in a professional and concrete manner. He's healthy, full of energy. He's studying nutrition. He has a happy marriage. He spends time with his kid. He has, a successful career. That's important too. And this is something I don't want you to underestimate. Never underestimate the power of relatability. This is something I often find when people are changing careers is so underestimated that often their past can be one of their biggest selling points, right? Think about it. Imagine you were David's ideal client and you have a choice between someone doing this kind of service like David, who comes from a similar professional background, who can relate to you and understand all those long hours, the exhaustion, the pressure, the stumbling blocks, or someone who's just a perfect nutritionist, but from a completely different background. They might have many more years of experience, but you don't really feel like they get you. Wouldn't you just choose David because you feel like he gets you, so relatability wins over? So my friend, rather than worry about maybe you only got a little bit of experience or maybe you don't feel fully qualified or whatever, emphasize your relatability. Use things like, I know how you feel. I used to feel just like you. It is so, so valuable. All right. Now, David had already done some education around this. He personally wanted to do more of it, but he didn't have to. This would already be enough. Right? But it is a passion of his, so he wants to go deeper. Now, this is also why, this is also why choosing a niche and a specific client group can often be really helpful, especially early on. And don't worry, even if you have a specific client group, that doesn't mean that other types of clients won't approach you or that you can change your client group over time or expand it over time. Just think about this podcast, for example. I clearly say at the beginning that this is for the 35 plus, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I also have tons of listeners who are younger than that, right? They still feel attracted. It's still relatable. So I don't leave anyone out that way. You get the idea. Most importantly, though, it makes it so much easier for you to market yourself more concretely when you get concrete about who you help, who's your ideal client, right? Here's the thing, because David has such a clear value proposition in terms of what the problem he solves is and who he helps, he was able to start his business on the side right away. He's literally test driving this offering, first as a one-on-one service just to see how that works, then as a group program. And then again, over time, he can also turn that into potentially an online program or a book or YouTube channel, you name it, even a big movements for great dads who are also happy partners, and happy professionals. He could add more surveys, expand the client group, even go in and things like maybe work with the government or with schools, or he could stay independent. Here's the thing, right? Just look at what he can already do. All right. And also even better, around the time that we actually worked together, I was like, you really want to start this on the side? And he's like, oh, there are no part-time jobs in my environment. It doesn't work. Like that. Guess what? Of course, he found something on the side that was part-time so he could start this and still have money coming in, right? What if things could get really good? Okay, rather than thinking worst case scenario, how good could it really get? Sometimes that works out. Okay, but even so, started on the side just like David did. Now, how about you? Maybe you are also your own kind of ideal client type, or you were before you solved the problem. Or is there already a problem you solve for others using a passion? Or is there before, after? Or maybe you've already facilitated experiences, transformation. This is a great way to find out about what's in it for others. There's so many different ways of doing this. This is just a few ways. I hope you're already feeling fired up. There's obviously a lot more to it, but this should give you something really concrete to work with. So let's recap, okay? This is what you want to do. Run your own passion through this. Number 1, what's in it for you? Will it give you the kind of day-to-day work life you want? And will it be profitable enough? And number 2, what's in it for others? Are you your clients? Your business is not just about you. So what's in it for others and why should they choose you? Make that really clear value proposition. What is the problem you're solving and why should they choose you, right? Start doing that. One of the things that I love about the way that the things are changing in the world of work is that it's possible nowadays to make money from all kinds of passions, especially if you also consider things like online business models, advisory and consulting business models, not just product models. So get creative, but stay professional. There are so many business models. There is never just one way to translate your passion into a business. There's never just one way to make money from your passion. And also get excited about designing your ideal workday. Nothing beats that. It's so worth it. But remember, it's got to work for you as well as others. That's also where the purpose comes from to a large extent, how it's meaningful, because it's not just about you, it's also about others, okay? So ask yourself the right questions, my friend, and get unstuck. If you want professional help with that, I'll see you over at thecareerchangepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening.